Hello, everybody. I am Zane. I am joined here by our expert strategists on the Powered by Text team from various industries. So thanks for joining me, everybody. Today, we are talking about Easter. As many of you know, Easter is right around the corner. It is coming quick. And we on the Powered by Text team want to help organizations navigate this season, this very important season in the spring. It's a great opportunity to connect with your current audiences. It's a great time to connect with new people, new guests to your organization. So we wanted to help you with that. So that's why I brought the strategists here to talk about some specific texting strategies and ideas to help you connect with your audience this Easter and this spring season. And I keep mentioning spring and Easter because for the faith-based organizations, you understand how important of a time this is. A lot of new people around, a lot of things happening, a lot of events happening. But the spring season is a great time to connect with people. We're coming out of the doldrums of winter, and there's no better time than now to start planning for this spring season and how you are going to communicate with your audience. And so, David, do you want to talk about the season coming up and the idea of thaw?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Zane. I mean, just historically, whether you are somebody of faith that's going to church or you're just living life, there's a rhythm and a calendar that most people follow. And out of winter follows the springtime. And for those that are in a faith-based area, and I particularly work in the church industry, man, there's all kinds of significance and all kinds of emotions that are attached to the springtime. There's hope. There's new life. There are things that have been dormant and frozen and cold that are preparing to come to life and be green, and new buds on things that have kind of felt dead for a while. And what a great opportunity for a new season to help thaw some of that and move into a springtime of the soul, so to speak.
With this idea of thaw and spring season, David, you had mentioned that this idea coming from C.S. Lewis. Can you kind of talk about what he had to say about this?
Yeah, sure. So in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, there's this, the white witch who has kind of taken over and cast a spell over Narnia. And there's this great quote in there of, because of that witch and what she's done, it's always winter, but it's never Christmas. And so it's just that wintry, cold, frozen season. And she's even going around and actually casting some spells on some of the different inhabitants and creatures of Narnia and freezing them and turning them to stone. And spoiler alert, if you haven't, this was written in 1949, so I don't know if we need to have spoiler alerts for 75-year-old stories, but regardless, Aslan is on the move, the lion, the Christ figure in a sense. And when he comes back, what does he do? He breathes on all of those frozen or stony creatures and begins to thaw them, and they come back to life. And so there's just this beautiful imagery that's there when we think about this season. And we think about Easter, and we think about springtime. We think about Lent. I've heard Lent is called the springtime of the soul, where there's this opportunity to be intentional about helping guide people toward a new beginning as they're walking toward Easter, where new life really starts.
I love this idea because this is January 1st, get into the gym again. People have this need, I feel like, or it's to your point, I feel like there are rhythms in life, and we come to January 1st and it's a time for us to reflect and kind of start over, start new things. That really does lend itself to making it a great time for organizations to provide opportunities that your organization provides, to provide new opportunities to them, invite them to events, send them new communication that they can get involved in, right?
Zane, I was going to say that's you hit the nail on the head there, because it is a season of new beginnings. And so I know for a lot of our clients, whether they are in the faith-based area or not, they're serving people who need new beginnings in a lot of cases. And so that appeal to your friends of your organization, the supporters of your organization, I think really goes a long way this time of year, especially.
There's no better way to connect with people than texting. And I know for people watching this, coming from the guys that have text on their shirts, we are going to be saying that. But we do, I mean, that's one of the reasons a lot of us, work for Powered by Text, because we truly believe texting is the best way to connect with people. It's the best medium to connect with people. There's stats that back that up, where it's people's preferred way of receiving communication from the organizations, from the brands that communicate with them. And that's how they prefer for you to communicate with them, because people open I think the new stat is 99% of text messages get opened and read, which is an incredible. That is obviously way higher than email and social media. So our expertise and what we believe is that you should be using texting in this Easter season, the spring season, to connect with your audience. With that being said, we wanted to bring some proven strategies. Our strategists here are currently teaching our clients based on, years of experience that we have in the texting industry, and that our strategists here, they have worked in these industries previously. So these are great strategies for everyone to use. These are not just for our clients. So I wanted to kick it to our church industry guys, David and Daniel, to talk about in this Easter season, what are some great strategies that people can use to connect with their audience?
Yeah, sure. So when I think about texting, I think of two sides of a coin. And so one side is really more text dealing with information and engagement. That might be something like, when are the Easter services going to be? What are the times? Letting people know when things are happening. Maybe you've got Holy Week services that are happening, or maybe it's a community Easter egg hunt. You want to make sure that information gets conveyed so engagement with your community can take place. So that's one side, information engagement. The other side of that coin is what I call digital discipleship. And this is where we're leveraging a season like Easter and a season like Lent, the 7 weeks leading up to Easter, where we may want to utilize opportunities for the congregation to go deeper in their faith, their discipleship. That could be a daily reading plan that helps prepare people's hearts to experience Easter. Or maybe it's a weekly prayer prompt. Maybe it's something to do with just the 7 days leading up to Easter, known as Holy Week. And there's something specific we want our congregation to be thinking about or reading, or a spiritual discipline to engage with. So it can be 7 weeks, it can be 7 days, or anywhere in between. But is it information and engagement, or is it more digital discipleship focused?
Yeah, I think to piggyback off of that, David, a lot of churches they're already thinking about, they might already have it all set up where they've got maybe a sermon series leading up to Easter, and they already know what they're going to do, or some kind of theme for that Easter weekend, some kind of messaging that they want to focus on. Well, when it comes to texting, don't reinvent the wheel. Just use texting to fuel what your message is going to be. So like you said, when it comes to discipleship resources, well, hey, maybe we have a 7-week series leading up to Easter. Even the 7, focusing on the 7 last words of Christ. Churches will do that. Well, hey, it could be as brief as you want, but a weekly text that talks about those, or sends a resource to kind of people fuel the passion for what we're celebrating this season. Another thing is, the beauty of texting is that, good or bad, everybody's got their phone all of the time, right? So when we talk about Easter, we know that churches are thinking of ways to be intentional, to capitalize on the fact that some people have a willingness and an openness to come to church specifically on Easter when they otherwise wouldn't. Those are our beloved CEO church attenders, Christmas and Easter only, right? So a lot of churches will print out inviter cards, or like a little flyer, print those out with the Easter weekend times and all that information. And that's good. But why not just create an Easter keyword and digitize that inviter card? That not only can save you some printing money, but that way your congregation knows, okay, I'm equipped because when I'm out in the community and I'm inviting my neighbor or my coworker, whoever, and I say, hey, I'd love to have you as my guest on Easter weekend. And you know what? Just go ahead and text the word Easter to whatever your short code is. They know that information is going to get to that person and stay with them. And they don't have to remember to bring that flyer. They don't have to remember that invite card. It just makes things so simple where they know, all right, people haven't opened this season. I'm going to invite them to come hear the good news of Jesus, and I can use my phone to do it.
We don't want to portray this idea of automate your ministry to where you're not involved. It's hey, let's automate for timeliness in terms of following up and getting people onto the right path. But we interject ourselves, the ministers, the staff, the church staff, into that workflow at times strategically to make sure that, hey, this is connecting with someone who knows and follows the Lord and wants to help you too and help you get involved or take that next step in our church. So don't hear that automation means no involvement of the people of your church to help those people who are searching.
You don't have to create a ton of new stuff all the time. Like what you're already creating, graphics and videos and campaigns, things that you're talking about, just turn that into a text, shrink it down, put it in a smaller version and include a URL with it. Maybe you do make a smaller version that is an MMS that is included with it. But when you implement texting, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be this whole new thing that you're totally recreating the wheel.
Yeah, Zane, I remember Noah Sidham from Bellevue Baptist Church saying, hey, when we were using email, we were seeing engagement in the hundreds. When we started using text, we were seeing it in the thousands. So what you're saying, taking that omni-channel approach, taking the content you're getting out across other channels, bringing it into this, one of the most effective channels for communication. It's critical.
Absolutely. So Zach, I want to come over to you for the Easter season for faith-based radio stations, but radio stations just in general, as we've talked about. What does the spring season look like for them?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really interesting for Christian radio is part of their audience are the dedicated church-going, they go to church every week, dedicated, strong believers. The person you often think of that's a Christian radio listener, but probably 2/3 to 3/4 of your audience is really people that are kind of just dipping their toe in the waters of faith or exploring it, or very likely they're going through a really difficult storm in life. They're in pain right now and they need help. And so, I think tools like, an Easter campaign, a texting campaign are ways to reach out to people who are not the religious or the people that are already spiritually fed in the church, but there's a bunch of people exploring faith. And so to engage with them and to get them into a friendly, convenient, personal communication format where they can be presented things in morsels and they don't feel put on the spot, I think is a huge opportunity. I think one of my favorite and often forgotten parts about text. Yes, it's the GOAT for getting messages out to lots of people quickly. Like there's been nothing better than text ever, in my opinion, but it's also an amazing way to hear from people. And so this is an opportunity for radio. It's all about like spitting out a message, right? But texting is a way that we can actually hear back from people. We can ask questions. We can send us a photo of where some part of your Easter. Think through as you're building these campaigns, what are ways I can hear back from people? Maybe it's sending them a survey. Sometimes we've done where we send a survey at the beginning of a campaign and then a follow-up survey after the campaign. So we can see how have they changed in these 7 days or 30 days or 40 days, whatever the campaign is. So it's really that back and forth that I think is such an amazing thing to be able to unlock. One of my favorite quotes that I keep thinking of a lot right now is being heard is so close to being loved that for the average person, they're almost indistinguishable. So this is confirmed through brain scans, confirmed that when someone is listened to, it releases oxytocin, the same hormone that is released when there's feelings of love for one another. And so if we want to love our audiences better and we want them to be loved, listening is maybe one of the most underutilized formats to do that, because when they feel heard and known and seen, that will do amazing things for their faith and for their engagement with the content you're delivering to them.
Zach, I think that's so important, what you just brought up about listening to people. And listening takes time. It doesn't happen quickly. If it's happening quickly, you're on to the next thing and they don't feel heard, which is counterproductive to everything you just said. And it brought to mind an article that has really stuck with me that I read earlier in the month by Carey Nieuwhof. The article is entitled "Why Traditional Church Outreach is Failing, the 12 Touchpoint Rule." And he talks about this research done by Visitor Reach. It talks about the pre-pandemic and post-pandemic phenomenon of pre-pandemic. He says 3 to 5 touches in an outreach event or opportunity, whether that's a conversation or a cup of coffee or inviting, someone to church. 3 to 5 is what it normally took for that trust to be built and engagement to happen. Post-pandemic world, 12 to 15 touches. 12 to 15. Which makes me think, man, there is a place for texting to be leveraged here in an intentional way when you start looking at those different statistics about, 98, 99% of them get opened. If there's a call to action, 90% within 3 minutes. Opt-out rates, if they've opted in, less than 1% tend to opt out. The preferred ways of communication that we're seeing in communication surveys is short video text. Why is that? Because everybody's been on TikTok and they're conditioned to these short moments. And so the churches that are leaning into that flow and being able to communicate in under 30 seconds with important information or inspiration or engagement opportunities are hitting those touch points.
Zach, David, Dan, Daniel, thanks for joining us today. Take advantage, people, of this Easter season. It is a great time to increase your impact with people. People are looking to be connected with. Texting is the best way. Start thinking about your Easter plans. Easter is coming. Start thinking about your campaigns that you're going to send. And reach out to us if you have questions. You can get on our socials. You can reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. So thanks for watching today.